Right, I want to have a cuppa and a sarnie, and then this arvo I'm defo gonna watch the footy on the telly with a few bevies. Got your brolly? Let's pop out. I've seen so many students looking totally confused when I use words like these, but native speakers use them all the time. So in this video, I'm going to show you 21 of the most important British words that you need to know, especially if you're planning a trip to the UK, so that you can understand native speakers and real conversations better, and so that you can sound really, really impressive. Seriously, native speakers will love it if you use the words in this video. By the way, these words are not in your textbook, so you really need this lesson. Are you ready? Okay, so let's start with some words that we use in everyday life in the UK. Then we're going to look at some things that you really know when you're talking about food and drink, and then a few everyday expressions, followed by some bonus Britishisms. Things that are very, very British. And before we start, if you're new here, I'm Greg. I make English grammar simple and help you with British English pronunciation so that you can speak English clearly and understand native speakers easily. And you can now download the latest edition of my Quick Fix magazine. That will really help you see this vocabulary used naturally in a short story. You're also going to get some top common chunks that will help you speak more fluently. And there's also a quiz, a writing challenge, loads of cool things that will help you remember this vocabulary in a fun way. So just click up there or click the link in the description or scan that QR code, enter your name and email address, and I will send it to you. And I will also send every future edition of the magazine automatically straight to your inbox. And it's free. Okay, so everyday life in the UK. I mentioned a couple of these in the introduction, but we often talk about the telly, which is short for television. Telly, the TV. Also, footy. We talk about football all the time, and footy is a short version of football. Do you want to watch the footy on the telly? And what else is England famous for, apart from football? The rain. Okay, so we always talk about umbrellas, and it's a long word, so we tend to say brolly. And I think this might just be a family word that my granny invented, but we also say umbo. But that's just for us. Most people say brolly. Okay, as I mentioned, we shorten words that we talk about all the time. And what do we talk about all the time? Food and drink. And that's why a lot of vocabulary related to food and drink has a short version or an informal slang version, just to help us speak more quickly and in a more casual way. So, if you hear somebody talking about a sarnie, what type of sarnie do you want? A tuna sarnie? A beef sarnie? Sarnie is a sandwich. Here's one I use every single morning of my life. Brekkie. Every single day I ask my two daughters, what do you want for brekkie? Brekkie is short for breakfast. And every morning I also have a cuppa, which is short for a cup of tea. When we're speaking quickly, the word of often becomes a. So cuppa tea just gets reduced to cuppa. And it's one of the most common words in British English. While we're talking about drinks, a very formal word for drink is a beverage. Beverage. And we normally use this word when we're talking about alcoholic drinks. But come on, do we really want to be using long informal words when we're at the pub with our friends? No. So we say bevy. Do Do you want a bevy? Bevy is an alcoholic drink. And you don't have to buy them in the pub. You can go to the very specific shop in England that only sells beer and wine and spirits. That type of shop in English is called an off-license. But again, it's a bit of a long word, right? So we shorten it to the offie. Ooh. That reminds me, I need to go to the offie to get some bevies. Okay, another very long word for something not very interesting is vegetables. Such a long word. So we often shorten that to veggies or veg. Fruit and veg. Fruit and vegetables. So you will very often hear that and also see it written on signs, etc. when you go to England. And talking of typically English food, if you go to England, what's the most typically English food that you can think of? Fish and chips? Probably. So if you want to go to England and buy fish and chips, you need to go to a little restaurant that specifically serves fish and chips, a fish and chip shop. Again, really long for a not very interesting thing. So what do we call it? The chippy. Chippy. Fish and chip shop. Chippy. What a great word. Okay, that's the section of food and drink. Now let's have a look at just a few everyday expressions. Okay, these expressions are just words that we use in everyday language. And the first one is defo. This is another one that I use all the time. And defo is short for definitely. Defo. The next couple are actually what we call relaxed pronunciation. So going to, when we're speaking in a very relaxed way, becomes gonna. Okay? Gonna. I'm going to go, I'm gonna go. Where are you going to go on your holidays this year? Where are you going to go on your holidays this year? So it's a very, very common bit of grammar that we use a lot, and this relaxed pronunciation helps us use it more quickly. And a similar one is the expression want to. Where do you want to go? Want to becomes wanna. Where do you wanna go? A lot of people know this, you might know this yourself, but there's a very common mistake that I hear from learners. The mistake is that people sometimes say, what do you wanna to do? No. If you say, what do you wanna to do? What you are saying is, what do you want to do? Wanna is want to. So after, you don't need to put to again. What do you wanna do? I wanna go, etc. Okay, the next one is great if question tags are not your favorite part of English grammar. Isn't it becomes in it. In it. It's often used in the South, but it's very common in London Cockney English, but it's getting really, really common in most of England, to be honest. One thing that you might hear more in Cockney London English, more than other parts of the country, is using in it instead of all question tags. So instead of isn't it, doesn't he, won't we, he's coming tomorrow, innit? We'll find out, innit? Before we look at the bonus Britishisms, if you're preparing for a B2 upper intermediate exam, or if you want to finally feel confident using vocabulary like this and learning about British culture, then check out my brilliant B2 course. In that course, there are 12 modules and 12 stories in the course where each one deals with British culture. And that's going to help you learn the vocabulary, learn the grammar and pronunciation to help you feel confident and comfortable talking about general topics in English. That B2 level of English is a really, really strong level of English to have that many jobs and universities ask for around the world. So I'll leave a link in the description. Okay, let's have a look now at some more very, very common British expressions that you will definitely need to know when you go to England. The first one is quid. That is our currency, the Great British Pound, but we call it quid. 1 quid, 2 quid, 3 quid when we're speaking in everyday English. You'll often hear the word mate, which means friend. Me and my mates. A mate told me this. Who's going? Any of your mates? The third one is cheers, and you might think you know cheers. It's what you say when you have a drink, and the other person has a drink, and you go, cheers, before drinking. But it also means thank you, and is one of the most common ways that we use in everyday British English to say thank you. Thanks. Cheers. Okay, thank you is another very, very long word. Not too long, but we like to shorten words. So instead of thank you, you can say thanks, but instead of thanks, you can make it even shorter and say ta. Ta very much. Thank you very much. Another very, very common word is very. And instead of very, you might hear people saying well plus an adjective. Okay, so it was very hot. You could say it was well hot. That's very expensive. That's well expensive. How was the concert? It was very good. It was well good. Okay, very simple word and a very, very natural way for you to speak English. Another really British word is the word pop. Pop, like pop. And we use pop to mean either go or put, but in a very short and casual way. So, for example, you wouldn't say I'm just popping to Australia for my holidays. No, that's a huge trip. I'm going to Australia for my holidays. But you could pop to the shops. Okay, just go to the shops very quickly, very casually, just to buy one small thing, perhaps. You could pop out, which means to go out. Again, in a very short and informal, casual way. Pop it on the table. Put it on the table. Pop it in your pocket. Put it in your pocket. Okay, or I'm just gonna pop to the loo. Loo is another very informal English word which means toilet. Okay, so if someone says they're just going to pop to the loo, it means they are going quickly and casually to the toilet. But I guess they don't want to make a big deal of it, so they use pop, which is just a nice informal way to mention that. Okay, remember you can download the magazine and see this vocabulary in use, in context, in the story. That's going to help make all of these words make complete sense, and it's free. So let's quickly go back to the sentence from the beginning of this video, which you should now understand perfectly. You ready? Let's go. I said, right, I want to have a cuppa and a sarnie. So I want to have a cup of tea and a sandwich. And then this arvo, oh, I've just realised I didn't mention arvo in this video, did I? Okay, arvo is a short word for afternoon. It sounds very Australian, in fact, but you will hear native speakers in Britain using arvo. I use it all the time, this arvo, or this aft, even, for this afternoon. Okay, this arvo, this afternoon. So, this arvo, I'm definitely going to watch the footy on the telly, the football on the TV, with a few bevies, with a few alcoholic beverages. Got your brolly? Have you got your umbrella? Let's pop out. Let's go out. Much clearer, innit? Right, if you want to understand English clearly and reach a high level of English, make sure you hit subscribe. I've got loads of great lessons coming up that are really going to help you reach that advanced level of English. And if you don't subscribe, you might never hear from me again. Okay, your turn. I want you to write one sentence in the comments below using one of the words from today. And then watch my next video, which shows you the 20 most common pronunciation mistakes that you really need to avoid in English. And again, that could really save your next trip to England or your next conversation with a native speaker. So you can watch that video there, and don't forget to download your free magazine. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.